TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Do you remember tagging with Billy Graham in Hawaii in 1973?
Wow. 1973, okay, I was working for 1973. Who in the hell was I working? I could have been working for Don Owen in Portland, Oregon. And he used to send guys over to Hawaii. I don't remember that, though, but I believe you.
Apparently, you tagged with superstar Billy Graham.
Was he superstar Billy Graham then, or Wayne Coleman? Or?
I think he was still, I don't know if he was superstar, because Ripper Collins was your other partner.
Oh, my God.
And you wrestled Giant Baba.
Wow.
Neff Miavia.
Okay, so Ripper Collins and me were tag team champs in Oregon, so yeah, forgot all about that. We went over there together. And I think at one time Ripper lived in Hawaii, so Oregon and Hawaii had that connection. So he was the booker over there. He was Ripper Collins. What a talker and what a worker. Didn't have much for a body, but he brought me a jacket to wear with him, and I was like, I never wore a jacket. I was embarrassed because he was just fat and out of shape. I know he must have been in good enough shape to wrestle, but God, he could talk. But anyway, during the interviews, but the jacket, I couldn't wait to get it off. I didn't want to look like his twin. And I was Greg Valentine there too, so I got to use my real name. Don Owen was a great promoter in Portland, Oregon. They were on Channel 12, KPTV, Channel 12, and the wrestling would come on Saturday night, 11 o'clock, but they would do all the show right, from like 8 to 11 and tape it and then play it. You could run home and see yourself on TV. So it was a great territory. Portland was great. And Salem and Elton Owen down in Salem. And Eugene was another good one. So I do remember. So they had that Hawaii connection. Sorry to get off the subject, but we went to Hawaii a couple different times. Because you're close, From New York, it's a long trip to Hawaii. But I think from, 4 hours from LA or Portland, 4 or 5 hours. That's not bad. That's long enough. But, we went to Hawaii and we'd stay for a few days anyway. I also, when I broke into business, I went to Calgary. My dad sent me to Calgary with Stu Hart in the dungeon. That's where I first ran into superstar Billy Graham. He was Wayne Coleman then. So I have a lot of history with him. But when I finally attacked him in Oakland on television and put the figure 4 on him, ended his career. And he always joked about it. That guy, Greg Valentine, would be signing or something. Can you imagine Greg Valentine, all the hard matches I went through, and Greg Valentine ended my career? It's funny, Wow. So he struggled for a long time. And I kept watching the updates and how he was doing. I saw pictures from the hospital, and it's just, it's terrible. But, he was such a good guy. And what an innovator, and what a lot of people copied his gimmick, sort of, even Hogan with the bandana and all that, and she kind of paved the way for guys. And Jesse Ventura had that superstar Billy Graham look and the flexing and stuff. And so he was the innovator. He was the original.
And you saw it before he even developed that kind of persona. Do you remember seeing how that played out?
I saw him in Calgary, and this was an embarrassing moment, but it's funny. They had this guy named Mighty Ursus. Big, fat blob. Mighty Ursus. He like Haystacks Calhoun. So they wanted Billy to go out there and get behind him and pick him up. And what happened was he picked him up, but Ursus fell on top of him. This is on television. And it was live television back then. Holy shit, he was pissed off about that. But the guy was 400 pounds. How are you going to give him an Olympic suplex backwards, He fell on top of him. Wow, I remember that. Wayne Coleman. God bless you. He was a really good man. Yeah.
innovator and real trailblazer.
Yeah.
But what did you think when he reinvented himself and came back as the karate character? Do you remember this?
I don't remember that. Is that when he shaved his head?
Shaved his head and he was doing like this ninja stuff, like an NWA.
See, I don't remember. When I was in New York. I came there in '79, and then I went back to Charlotte, and I was going back and forth all the time. So it could have been in that. I actually came there in '84 to stay for quite a while, but I was going back and forth, breaking Wahoo's leg, breaking Ric Flair's nose.
Yeah, they're keeping you busy at all these different programs.
But it was so great because I could go back from Charlotte to New York, easy flight, and I still lived in Charlotte, but I had an apartment in Seabright, New Jersey, too, in Bayonne. Lived in Bayonne. Loved New York back in those days, and it was before they took over the West Coast, so we'd drive a lot of trips. I'd drive all the way up to Bangor, Maine, Portland, Maine, Buffalo. Yep, loved it. I loved it back then. Just turn the rock and roll stations on and rock right along.
TitleMatchNetwork.com